are many areas wherein disputes are there, like ITC disputes, classification disputes, valuation disputes, procedural disputes, jurisdictional disputes, disputes regarding principle of natural justice, disputes regarding refund, etc. But I have chosen 5 issues which wherein we are facing major disputes. And in most of those cases, SLP has been filed, have been filed, I will say that, by many jurisdictional GST commissioners and DCI also. So the first dispute I would like to start with, it's a seizure of cash. Whenever we make a search seizure, when we go for still somebody is saying volume is low. I think from my side volume is at peak.
Sir, it's normal here.
Yeah, I think
Office,
it's a problem with their system.
yes, sir.
So I will go on because I will not interrupt myself because the pace
Sure, sir, sure.
pace will be. So when we go for search and seizure under section 67, so as per the bare perusal of section 67(2) of the Act, it says that goods, document, books or things can be seized if there is a reason to believe, which has to be entertained by the officer not below the Joint Commissioner.
Officers, please keep your mics on mute, as I said during the session record. Jairam ji. जी sir.
जयराम जी माइक बंद कर लीजिए अपना. As per section 67, because if so during search and seizure, we can seize goods. Goods has been defined. Documents, books or things. But when we talk about the cash, seizure of a cash, so we resort to seizure of a cash under the heading things. So when we read, make a careful reading of section 67(2), it says that there must be a reason to believe. As far as goods is concerned, it says it is when it is liable to confiscation. And as far as other 3 items, document, books or things, it is says that when it is useful for the proceeding, relevant proceeding which is ongoing. And when these are secreted in any place, and these can be retained as long it is useful. And if these are not relied, these are unrelied, this has to be returned within 30 days of the SCN. In case of goods, notice is required to be given if it is not provisionally released within 6 months as per section 67(7) of the Act. So what happened in one case? In one case, what happened? From the residence of the proprietor and connected person, some X amount of cash was seized. The case was of fake ITC. When we are seizing the cash, we are seizing on this reasonable belief that it may be of clandestine removal. Goods may be, goods or services may be rendered without any raising of invoices. Since the case was of fake ITC, so what happened? Cash SCN was issued. SCN was issued, but the seized cash was not forming part of SCN. I mean to say that there was no allegation, there was no charging paras as regards to seized cash. It means it is by the issuance of SCN, cash were, when they were not made, when there was absence of allegation regarding seizure of cash, as there was no para, why cash seized cannot be appropriated, etc. It means the seizure of cash, which at the point of investigation during search and seizure was thought that it will be useful for investigation, or it may be the part of any transaction which is fraudulent in nature and may be connected with the clandestine removal. In case of fake ITC, we cannot say that cash has been generated from the fake ITC. If it is, unless and until it is proved that cash is withdrawn, immediately withdrawn by any of the entity involved in that. So the cash was not made of the, was not forming part of any allegations, was not connected, was not related to any allegations made in the SCN. SCN was issued. During that, during issuance of a SCN and after that, and also after that, communication was made to the income tax authority. Income tax authority took over the case, took over the cash under Panchanama, and by this manner, cash was handed over to the income tax authorities under the relevant sections, under section 132 of income tax. In between, what happened? In between, what happened? One of the petitioner went to the Honorable Bombay High Court. And their plea was that, two plea was there, because as regards to seizure of cash, there should be first ingredient, which is of very utmost important, reason to believe. If there was no reason to believe, recorded, it was, the petitioner was saying in their submission that no reason to believe was recorded while seizing the cash. And second challenge, which has been upheld by many high courts in favor of parties, that it is not forming part of things. It is not covered under things, because what they are saying that. Then I'll coming to the case. Then I will go to the legal aspect for that. Then and the High Court gave certain time, 2 weeks time, and it was ordered that cash should be released to the forthwith, should be released within certain period of a time to the petitioner. So when we're dealing with the case, the problem which arises, that I will discuss. Problem arises when we are talking to the advocate. Their averment was that if it have been seizure of cash would have been made in any para of the SCL, then it would have been a prudent decisions. Then some prayer could have been made to the High Court to not release the cash because it is an ongoing proceedings. But it was not part of the SCM. So the ultimately cash was to be released. The dispute which arises and which is we are frequently seeing what disputes are being arises. Courts are saying that in the later slide, name of the case are given. Courts are saying that cash is not covered under things because if there is a principle in a taxing interpretation of a taxing statute, there is a principle of ejus generis. It means the words has to take color and context of the preceding words. It is saying that good documents, books are for storing information, are used to store information. But cash is an asset. So it is not fall under the things. Court are saying that, and many cases except one cases, that is Kanishka Mata case of Madhya Pradesh, wherein it was held by the Honorable Madhya Pradesh High Court of Madhya Pradesh that cash is covered with things. Otherwise, I have illustrated a few cases. Shabu George, Gigi Matthew. It is of Kerala High Court. It says that seizure of cash found on the premises of appellants during investigation is unwarranted, where cash did not form part of business or a stock in trade. What this judgment, this part of a judgment intend to say that even we are seizing the cash during investigation, the first it has to be we have to show that it is a past part of a business, that it is generated out of a fraudulent transactions, which may be a allegation can be made with regard to clandestine removal. It is generated of that, and accordingly, investigation has to proceed on that premises. Another challenge to the case which I have stated in Bombay High Court, wherein we have filed writ petition also. Someone has requested a full screen. That's why. So we have to, at the time of seizing the cash under INS 02, we have to show that it is part of a fraudulent business. It has been generated out of a fraudulent transactions. Another challenge which I was saying that, please bear with me. If you'll regularly put some messages now, it will be difficult to, it will break my flow. The judgment says that the the case which I have discussed, because we have dealt with the case, that case, it says that since SCN was issued after 6 months, so they were saying that if they have not given SCN, then cash is required to be forthwith released to the petitioners without any conditions. This also happened in a this provision is in pari materia with customs law also, because if there is no, if the goods are seized, there is no provision release, then goods has to be released to the appellant or petitioner without any having a bank guarantee, and that will cause loss to the redemption fine. So this is in pari materia with the other taxing statute. So, but when we read section 67(2), if we read very carefully, it is saying regarding goods only. It is not saying as regards to books, document, or things. There is no mention of giving SCN within 6 months when goods are seized, and releasing immediately if SCN has not been given. So we can contest on that point also. But court is saying like this. In this Sabu George and Gigi Matthew versus State of Tax in Kerala High Court judgment, Supreme Court has upheld this the decision of a Kerala High Court. So most of the cases are the balance is not in favor of revenue, but still we are filing. Still we are filing SLP. This is a Deepak Khandelwal case. It says that 67 subsection 2 users generis things must be read with generally with documents and books taking color of the preceding courts. This is exactly what I stated.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but आपका screen sharing बंद हो गया sir.
Screen sharing बंद हो गया. Just a minute. अभी आ रहा है?
हाँ सर, दिख रहा है सर. दीपक खंडेलवाल, प्रोप्राइटर एमएस श्याम मेटल.
ठीक है. So most of the judgments are not in the favor of revenue, and most of it saying that it is not falling under the scope and ambit of the word things. It is so 67 subsection 2 does not give an unfettered and uncontrolled power to seize any movable asset. And in Deepak Khandelwal judgment, SC also inclined to interfere with the judgment of Delhi High Court. So this was, in one way, this was also upheld by the Supreme Court. But in this judgment, NP Industries and ROI Industries judgment, in this case, SCN was issued by the DGA authority and by the income tax authority. So this is a judgment which is neither openly favoring petitioner or neither the taxing authorities. So it is saying that they are free to defend their positions before the department. So what is the conclusion? What is the takeaway? The takeaway is that except Kanishka Mata judgment, which is in our favor, which is given by the Madhya Pradesh High Court, most of the judgments are against the revenue. So we have to, while investigating, while making investigation, while investigating, we have to we have to investigate in such a manner that there should be some nexus between seizure of cash and our investigations. better we, in that case, if there is a seizure of a cash, so it's a prudent to immediately inform the income tax authorities. Many times income tax authorities take 2-3 days time. They do not come immediately. It is better to inform them and better to hand over the cash. The current position is that department SLP is pending. In that case, which I have stated that in Bombay High Court, Honorable Court also observed that how they have handed over the cash to the income tax authority. That point we have defended. So this was regarding seizure of cash. So the takeaway is that as per the many judgment of High Courts and appeal by Supreme Court, it is saying that cash is not covered under the things. But it also says that if any nexus is established during investigation, if it is a forming part of an investigation, and if it is a accordingly charging para is made, then we can say that. In that case also, advocate was saying that there is no charging para regarding the seizure of a cash and as regards to proposal for appropriation when the adjudication will start. So that was also a failing point. So we have to be, I will not say that when we will get the cash, we will not seize it. Present position, but we have to show the nexus that it is a part of a fraudulent transactions generated by clandestine removal or any of the grounds we have to mention during investigation, and accordingly SCN has to be drafted. And better in that cases, if you're seizing the cash, better in that cases, we may issue SCN before 6 months as per the section 67(7), or we take a permission of a commissioner and for another 6 months. Another important bunching of SCN. You must have all be facing the similar problem. All the Nitish ji, क्या position है? What is the position regarding bunching of SCN? Hello. As regards to bunching of SCN, what we are doing, we are issuing consolidated SCN for the tax for the different financial years. And as regards to bunching of SCN, this is our practice. And there is a, as regards to bunching of SCN, there is a policy section note is also there, which has said that we have to defend the case, because when we read the relevant provisions, what the court are saying, first of all, what the court are saying that, and there are many judgments, what the court are saying that bunching is not permitted. We have to issue SCN for a separate financial year. And accordingly, it has to be adjudicated. Court are saying that in most of the cases. Decisions are against the revenue, but still SLPs are being filed. Because there are two keywords, any period and financial year. When we talk about issuance of SCN under section 73 or 74, there is a word mentions any period. And when we talk about the adjudication functions, when we talk about the issuance of order in original, determination of tax as per 7310 or 7410, it is written financial year. It is not years, it is year. And so as per reading of tax period is also defined. Tax period also defined under section 2106. And here it is any tax period. So as far as when we make a literal, this is a classic case of making a literal interpretation, which happened in the canon judgment. We all have seen that. There is I don't think there is any substantial violation of any right of the noticee by bunching of SCN. Because our plea is that when we are issuing a SCN for a consolidated period for 4 years, for 5 tax period, 5 financial year, so there will be one adjudication order. So he has to appear once. It means he has to appear once. There will be only one appeal. But what he's saying that he has to file appeal in a combined manner for a total amount. Pre-deposit will be more. They are saying that. We are saying that they have to appear, if we will issue 5 SCN, he has to file reply for 5 times. He had to appear for the PH 5 times for different SCN. But as far as the practice with the State Department is that they are issuing SCN for a separate financial year. So as far as the literal meaning is concerned, this is a classic case of a literal interpretation. But when we make a purposive interpretation, golden interpretation, so we cannot fill the words. We cannot add or subtract any words from the statute. So as far as the issuance of SCN is concerned, it is written any tax period. Any tax period means when there is a word any, it includes all. But when we are talking about the determination of a tax by virtue of operation of 73 subsection 73(10) or subsection 10 of 74, here it is written financial year and there is no years, there is no plural, it is a singular. That is making putting us in a spot. There are few cases regarding the bunching of SCN. It's a new gen. It was a JNK. It is saying that composite SCN cannot be held invalid if there is a year-wise breakup of tax. So better it is for us. It will be a prudent to draft an SCN and we have to deal each financial year separately in the SCN. I think that will be a prudent. This judgment is saying only that. We should not be in a habit of making a table. We should deal a financial 2017-18 in one para, 18-19 in one para. I think better. That will be a better idea. Because we are in spite of the adverse judgment which we have received, still, and though SLP has been filed, still we are issuing consolidated SCN, whether it is a field formation, whether it is DCJ. So this is the fact of the case. This judgment is supporting the bunching. This judgment is. Let us see the another slide. This judgment was the same court, Jammu and Kashmir High Court. So by order of 30th September 2025, they found it permissible to issue consolidated SCN. This was a judgment, Mathur Polymers and Ambika Traders. These are the two judgments which are in favor of revenue. In this case, it was held that way transaction and another the plea which we are making in our SLP that when there is a fraudulent transactions, we cannot separate the years, because to disclose, to unravel the modus operandi, we have to investigate entire years in one go. So we cannot if we'll make because these transactions are interconnected with each other. So this plea we are making, and this is also very important. This and in one of the few judgments, court has also said that if it is a collision, then bunching is permitted. If it is a fraud, bunching is permitted, and not in other cases. In this case, Mathur Polymers In case of fake ITC with transactions spread across the years, consolidated notice should be permissible in order to unravel modus operandi, which I was talking about. The language of the Act, which I said that does not bar. Language of the Act, as far as the issuance of SCN is concerned, 73, 3 and 74 subsection 3 does not bar it. That is true. These are the few judgments which are not in our favor. Mirlaw Good Earth, SJ Construction, just a minute. Mirlock, Good Earth, SJ Construction, Instacart Services. These are the judgments which are against us. Mrs. RA and Commissioner, we can see that. And the plea submission they are making, that the limitation is hit. But as far as you are also submitting in our SLP that as far as the limitation is concerned, we are taking care of the limitations. We're taking care of the limitation of 3 years and 5 years. So the issuance of a bunching of a SCN is formally covering the limitation period. It means that this does not alter the limitation period in any way. In our submission, we are also submitting that each financial year is limitation period is taken care of, and accordingly we are issuing the SCN. We are also basing our submission on any tax period. There is one important judgment, that is the Ambika Traitors. The Ambika Traitors judgment is very important, wherein it was held that bunching is permissible. And another important judgment is Mathur Polymers. Mathur Polymers was upheld also by the Supreme Court, because when Mathur Polymers filed the SLP, Mathur Polymers against the Delhi High Court judgment of 26/8/2025, Mathur Polymers has filed SLP. That SLP was dismissed by the Supreme Court, but dismissal was of just, it was 1 or 2 lines. So they were saying that it is not a reasoned order. What the court is still saying, that Bombay High Court has, that it is not a reasoned order. Another third point which we are going to cover, third issue which we are going to cover, ITC can't be denied to the bona fide purchaser. Here the word is bona fide. What is happening? Supplier has supplied the goods, selling dealer has supplied the goods. There is a supplier, there is a recipient. What recipient, purchaser of the goods, is saying that we have remitted entire invoice value, including tax, to the seller of the goods. The recipient is saying that. When it was under invoice, there was GSTN number. Earlier, when it was a VAT regime, there is a TIN number. We have checked the status of registration. Registration was valid. So how we are at fault, and this is a very basic and bona fide, this is a very basic and valid premise on which they are contesting. So in many cases of, before coming to the this topic, in many cases of we have seen that we have a circular instructions regarding we have a drive regarding fake ITC. We have a instruction circulars regarding fake ITC. But emphasis on those are getting catch of mastermind. Not emphasis is not on the person who is availing the goods. In many cases, we have seen that because arrest is a discretionary power. In many cases, we have seen that in spite of that the recipient is available, he's a manufacturer, he's not into trading, he's a manufacturer, and he has all the relevant evidences regarding receipt of the goods. They have done videography that we have received the goods through a broker, and it is a market practice. We cannot dispute it. It is a market practice. And at the time of purchasing the goods, recession was valid. These are the argument being given. So where we are at fault? What is our fault? That we have purchased the goods has come, it is a videograph, the vehicle has come, everything has come. So in that cases, it is very difficult to deny their submissions. So this is a bona fide purchaser. Who is bona fide purchaser? Who has paid taxes in terms of invoices raised by the supplier, but those taxes were not paid to the government. It's a very long time dispute. It is still going on. So here there is one case, Commissioner Trade Tax Delhi versus Santi Kiran India, which was this is a Supreme Court judgment. So short question arises in this case was that ITC is available to purchasing dealer who he has paid the taxes in terms of invoices, and same was not deposited by seller dealer to the government. When you borrow this provision in GST, it is section 16(2)(c). Here in that case, Delhi VAT was in question, section 9(1). 9(2) sets out the condition for availment. And 9(2)(g) say that when purchasing dealer has paid the taxes, and same has been collected and deposited by the supplier. It is required to be, and the supplier has to pay the tax to the government. It means to say that then only ITC will be available to the recipient or a purchasing dealer. In that case, what is the submission that we have made a bona fide purchase? There was a tin was mentioned on the invoice raised by selling dealer. Another case, similar case, that was a Supreme Court judgment, Instacart services. So there were in these cases constitutional validity of section 2(c) and rule 36 was in challenge. By the petitioners. Rule were not struck down, but the rule were not it was read down. It said that ITC, it set out certain conditions. It set out that ITC is not denied to a bona fide recipient who has complied with the other statutory provisions. In the case where supplier has collected a tax but not deposited to the tax to the government. In this case, submission of the petitioners are there that it is a very impossible task. We cannot have any effective control over the seller once the goods are sold. The court is saying that this is a onerous burden being put. This is a burden which is this is a task which is very impossible to perform. It is put on the recipient who is having no control, no means to ensure that taxes are paid with the government. Another case, which yesterday when I reading that this is a very recent judgment of May 26. Again, in this case, constitutional validity of section 16(2)(c) was under challenge. The question of law which were formulated in this judgment, whether can ITC be denied to purchasing dealer in such facts and circumstances of the case, can ITC be denied solely because selling dealer has failed to deposit tax? Another question of law was there, formulated legal issue which came before the court. Should section 16(2)(c) be read down so as to apply only in cases of fraud, collusion, or connivance of both seller and dealer? Section 155 says it puts burden. They have to prove. It's a placing on burden, placing on burden on the taxpayer to prove regarding the eligibility and fulfillment of conditions regarding availment of ITC. Normally, burden is on the department to prove its case, to prove its allegations, but by the virtue of section 155 and similar section, there is a similar section is there in under Customs Act is there, when the burden is shifted to the taxpayer or the importer or exporter, wherein they have to prove that they are eligible for availing the ITC. So this was the third issue. Give me 2 minutes. Another issue is which is a blocking of ITC. Blocking of ITC is done by the virtue of Rule 86A. In this blocking of ITC is done on the reasonable belief that ITC is fraudulently availed. And this blocking, when we detect a case, and when it is a fake ITC case, suppose that it is a fake ITC case. So, as a matter of practice, we invariably, as an investigating authority, when we are working in anti-evasion in commissionerate, we are writing to the division. When the taxpayer is falling under the state administration, we are writing to the state administration. When we are working in a DCJ, we are writing to block the ITC and cancel the registration. This is the first and foremost work. After the initiation of investigation, this is the first and foremost work we used to do. But the court is saying that court is harping on the issue that there should be a reason to believe this is a draconian law, blocking of ITC and provisional attachment. court is saying that these are draconian in nature because you are blocking the electronic credit ledger of the taxpayer. So before that, we have to give a pre-decisional hearing, which must contain reason to believe. There must be, for that, there must be material evidences, reason to believe. So only in that situation, and I hope divisions must be giving some hearing. Blocking of ITC, as you can see the slides, it is saying that under what condition it can be done. It is saying that invoices issued by the supplier who is non-existent or found not be conducting business from the declared PPOV. It means we are talking about the non-existent entity. Credit has been taken without actual receipt of the goods. It is, we are talking about the fake ITC. We are talking about the credit has been taken without actual receipt of goods or services or both. We are talking about the fake ITC cases, circular trading cases, where there is only paper transactions there. We are, this is a conditions given under section 132B. Registered, another condition is that registered person who is claiming benefit registered person is taking the benefit and found to be non-existent. These are the few conditions wherein ITC can be blocked. This case law is also saying that pre-decisional hearing was not given and lacked reasons to believe. Therefore, Honorable High Court quashed the blocking of electronic credit ledger. Fifth issue which we are going to discuss. This is the last issue which is on for which I have made the slide. I made this slide yesterday only. So this was made in a very hasty manner. So might be there some spelling mistake. You kindly bear with me. Another issue is the last issue, which provisional attachment. This is also a very serious issue. Court is also saying that it is a very draconian in nature. There must contain some reason to believe. Actually, one thing I wanted to forget in that seizure of cash. When we are talking about the seizure of cash, no, when we visited the 67 subsection 2, it was mentioning, it has a mention of reason to believe, but it is not saying anywhere in the enacted statute that reason to believe has to be recorded in writing. It means the opinion can be formed. We have made a submission, that's why I'm saying that. We have made a submission accordingly, that's why I'm saying that. A reason to believe, recording in writing, a reason to believe has to be put in writing. But it is saying that reason to believe. And there is no word recorded in writing, and in many cases there are reason to believe is required to be recorded in writing. It is in many statutory provision, it is written there. So in 67 subsection 2, recorded in writing is missing. So we must we can put our submission in our defense in that way. Since it was not required to be recorded in writing, so the reason to believe was there with the proper officer, the joint commissioner, additional commissioner, as the case may be, and accordingly search was done, and accordingly goods was seized, cash was seized. Coming to provisional attachment. Provisional attachment. This is done in case of 3 chapters. The section is 83, rule is 159. Period of provisional attachment as per is 1 year. 83 subsection 2 is 1 year. After 1 year, it expires automatically. As you are seeing the slide, this is done in case of assessment, inspection, search, seizure, and arrest. Assessment is 12, inspection, search, seizure, and arrest is 14, and demands and recovery is 15, chapter 15. What are the conditions to protect the interest of revenue? Tax have been evaded, and it would be very difficult to get it. The taxpayer will not submit himself to the investigation. When there will be an adjudication, there would not be any property available for by which the demand can be confirmed. By which demand can be confirmed. And duty interest penalty, or any dues can be recovered. So provisional attachment is done in those in these conditions. Over here. And under the provisional attachment, whose property is going to be attached, either of taxable person or the person mentioned, or the person mentioned in section 122A, which is talking about the mastermind or ultimate beneficiary, at whose instructions. When we are talking about 122(1)(a), this is also saying that person who is returning the benefit of a certain transaction covered under 1, 2, 6, and 9. 1, 2, 6 is 9. All their supply without invoice, only supply of invoice, fraudulent availment, and these are these conditions. These are these conditions. So why provisional attachment is done? Provisional attachment is done so that property can be ascertained. There may be after adjudication sufficient property which will be available to cover the demand. There are two most important cases in the mobile and Radhakrishnan industries. What happened in that case, Kesari Nandan and Radhakrishnan industries? I'll tell you. And the Kesari Nandan case was it was Kesari Nandan versus Office of Assistant Commissioner of State Tax. It says that provisional attachment will cease to operate beyond 1 year and cannot be renewed or reissued on substantially the same grounds without disposing representation in the absence of express statutory authority. As we read the provisional attachment, relevant provisions regarding the provisional attachment, how we do it, we have to set out the facts. What are the circumstances required for attaching the property? There is a guidelines issued by the department. Guidelines issued by the department, which is the cases fit for provisional attachment. What is happening in these cases? These cases happening is that our period of investigation in case of collision is 4 years and a half month, 4 years and 6 months. But this period of attachment and its expiry is not aligned with the statutory provisions. It means we have to investigate and issue SCN before 1 year, at least 1 and 2 months before the expiry, of the expiry of 1 year. Suppose we are attaching a property, we have suppose there is an investigation of online money gaming, and we have attached many bank accounts. Those are mule accounts. We have attached. Those accounts are operated and opened by misusing the KYC of such persons who are poor. So those accounts have been attached. And in what happens in online money gaming cases, there are 1,000 accounts, such accounts. Because it's an offshore entity. Offshore entity UPI is being reflected. Why there are so many accounts are there? I'm explaining that. UPI is being reflected. UPI you are paying in. You are paying in the UPI. Those UPI is reflected, and money is and there is a after few minutes there will be another UPI ID. And in 2-3 hours, the money will be layered through multiple bank accounts, and ultimately it go by this is happening by the layering of accounts, and ultimately when the 3-4 lakhs will be collected, it will be transferred to another account. This is happening. So there are many UPI ID which is reflected on the offshore entity. Offshore entity is required to take registration under section 14A of IGST, but they are not take. Their supply is totally bogus. So those accounts are attached, and they have and it's a number are huge. So in those cases, but what is happening? Suppose in cases of offshore entities, there is no representative. We have to track down to the mastermind. It takes time. When you are tracking the masterminds, first of all, we are getting UPI ID. Then we are getting the KYC through the banks. It also takes time. Then we are calling the concerned person on whose name bank account has been opened, and it takes time. So sometimes it takes more than a year. So this provisional attachment, I mean to say, it is not aligned with the time frame, with the timelines given for investigations. So this is causing a great difficulty, because if we were following this, as I have said, that Kesrinandan while Radhakrishnan, there should be a reason to believe, and there should be no second renewal. This it is in clear terms, it is saying that there should not be any second renewal. So what will happen? That will be, account will be defreeze automatically. So this is the problem we are facing, and we are receiving the writ also. So this is a problem. This is a dispute, but we are recently we are taking care to finish the investigation within a year, so that ACN can be issued and adjudicating authority has a sufficient time to adjudicate it. And there are few conditions under which this provisional attachment is resorted to. When he has supplied any goods or services or both without issue of any invoice. Without issue of any invoice, issued any invoice without supply of goods. 132 A and B simply. Fraudulent availment of input tax credit. Fraudulent availment of obtaining of refund. And collected any tax amount and not deposited. Passed on input tax credit to the recipient but has not paid the tax. The case of a purchasing dealer and selling dealer. So in these cases, property is ascertained. DRC 22 is issued by the commissioner, not lower than the authority of commissioners, by the officer at the level of commissioners. And after attaching, hearing is also given. DRC 23 is issued. So these are the few topics. These are the few topics which have for which I've made a PPT. But apart from that, I want to discuss some more. We have filed. We are receiving many writ petitions in the cases of a long-term lease, assignment of lease. What is happening in cases of assignment of a lease? Suppose MIDC has given a land A to B. I'm coming to the case. PPT is over. I'm coming to the case. MIDC has given a land to B. That transaction is, we are talking about the assignment of lease, more than 30 years. That is a long-term lease. And suppose MIDC is A, and who has given on the lease to B. That transaction is not covered under the GST. But when B is giving land to C, subleasing, this is a case of a subleasing as regards to assignment of lease. So we have, and there is a Gujarat High Court judgment also. There, the notices, several notices have been issued. They are saying that it is a sale of a land. And we know that sale of a land, lease, sale of a land is under Schedule 3 is not covered under the, comes under the ambit of GST. Schedule 3. Sale of land is totally under entry 5. Sale of land under Schedule 3 is neither is considered, shall be treated neither as a supply of goods nor a supply of services. So there is no tax liability. In all the summation, they are trying to link, and there is a Gujarat High Court judgment also that, but whenever we talk about the lease is defined. Lease is defined under Schedule 2, under Section 7. And, any lease, Schedule 2A, any lease or tenancy, it is talking about. Under Section 7, the CGST, it talking about the lease. The lease is a different. So what I'm trying to we have felt there is a many petitions are pending in Bombay High Court. So what they are saying that it is a sale of a land which is not the under the ambit of a GST. They're saying their main saying. But as far as the lease is concerned, lease is a defined under Transfer of Property Act under Section 105. Sale is defined under Section 54 of the Transfer of Property Act. So as far as the lease is concerned, our CGST provisions are clear that lease is taxable. And how these transactions, which are from MIDC to A and from A to B sublease is taxable, because in lease there is no absolute transfer of property. Only rights for the limited purpose are transferred. When owners are changed, then it is a sale. Then it can be. But in all the petitions, all the batch of petitions, which is since the some SLP is pending in Honorable Supreme Court, that's why Bombay High Court has kept on hold interpretation. So these were regarding the lease of land. Next, I wanted to talk about the Nitish ji, time है ना?
जी सर, बिल्कुल सर.
Next, I wanted to talk about the arrest provisions. Arrest provisions, we are on technical grounds. Arrest are. Yes, SLP has been filed by Commissionerate on this assignment of lease. Arrest provision. What is arrest provision? Arrest has become too technical now. Earlier we have a. इसको मैं ऑफ करता हूँ, क्या बोलते हैं ये जो स्लाइड है तो बड़ा कर दीजिए. Next, as I said, that arrest has become too technical. In one case, what happens? First of all, I wanted to say about the provisions of arrest. As regards to provisions of arrest, there was a guidelines which we used to follow, and under Article 21 and 22 of the Constitutions, relevant provisions, relevant things are given. Under GST 69 is there, under Customs Act 104 is there. In DK Basu, which is a landmark judgment, in DK Basu, it is a time of arrest. From the arrest, time has been given for 24 hours. But this is not the case anymore. At the end, we are making arrest, and there is a 24-hour excluding the journey, which is being said by the Article 21, 22, 21. It is not the case. What is happening? There is a before coming to this, I will cite a judgment Dilbag Singh versus ED. It's a Punjab Haryana High Court judgment delivered by them. What happened in that case? ED went for the search. ED went for the search, and the search went for 3-4 days, and then they arrested. So when they produced to the court said it is more than 24 hours. So it's an illegal arrest. And technical ground, he has been given, Dilbag Singh has been given bail. ED contemplated to file SLP before the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court. Because this is routinely they are arresting any enforcement agency. But how this judgment became so prominent? But they withdraw the case, sensing the mood of the judiciary that they will not get any favor from the Honorable Supreme Court. What is the crux of the matter is that? Crux of the matter is that, and the relevant part of the judgment was that court is saying that whenever we are entering a premises for conducting a search, and we are taking the mobile. We are taking the mobile. कि आप मोबाइल यहाँ रख दो, आप लोग मूव मत करो, आप लोग यहाँ बैठ जाओ. Whenever we are instructing like that, what is saying that? We are placing a absolute restraint. It is not a partial, it is an absolute restraint on his movements. It tantamounts to arrest. Placing absolute restraint by entering a premises for conducting search, which is nowadays, which is in DCCI, it is a AV recording everywhere, audio video recording. If it is going 1 o'clock, it is 1 o'clock. We cannot change that. So we are placing restraint, absolute restraint on the movement, on his freedom. So this amounts to arrest. This amounts to arrest. So what is happening? We are taking care of these things, and whenever we go and in many cases on technical grounds, when this timelines has not been followed, arrest has been tendered, arrest has been rendered illegal. So suppose someone is going for a search at 12 o'clock and it is under AV recording. What he will do? He has to produce that person, if that accused, to the court before 12 o'clock next day. If someone is going 12 o'clock today, 28th, and arresting a person and going for a search at a premises and took and used to take his mobile, placing the restraint, as I stated, that person has to be produced as an accused before 12 o'clock in the court. This is what is happening in all the formation, I think so. But coming to that, there is one more things. One more relevant thing is, it is also saying that, I think in Radhika Agarwal judgment, I'm not very sure, in one of the judgment, it is saying that ground of arrest has to be given for his defense, for his meaningful defense, 2 hours before producing in the court, in the competent court of law. It means if we are going today at 12 o'clock, arresting that person and producing that person in the competent court of law tomorrow before 12 o'clock, we have to supply ground of arrest, which is a part of which is as per the CBSE instruction, which is a part of a arrest memo, by 10 a.m. by 10 a.m. tomorrow, so that he can be produced in the court of law by 12 o'clock. Now this was very important. Those who are doing enforcement duties. So that's why I thought it is a prudent to put in words regarding the arrest. What is happening in the arrest? Another dispute which I think I would like to mention, that it is regarding erroneous refund. I will not take much time. Erroneous refund. Erroneous refund under 96 subsection 10, under 89(4) and 89(4)(b). Unutilized input tax credit is refunded under 89(4) and 4(b). So we have received many writ petitions and we have filed 2 SLP in the Supreme Court under rule 89(4) and 4(b), which has been omitted since 8 October 2024 by a notification, by virtue of notifications. So 89, I'll give you a very brief picture. What is 89(4)? Unutilized input tax credit, which is when we make an export, it is 0 rated, and 89, we are claiming refund under 89(4)(b). Court is saying that. Provisions are saying that 89(4)(b) is restricted to. It is also pertaining to refund, but it is restricted to those refunds wherein inputs has been imported duty free, under advance authorization, under UU, etc. So when there is a input has been imported duty free, the legal provisions of the GST Act is saying that in that case refund has to be taken only to that extent for which value has been added under Rule 89(4)(b). But what the taxpayers are doing, taxpayers are claiming erroneous refund under Section 89(4)(4). So it means they are importing the inputs duty free, but they were claiming refund of on that part also, along with the other refunds along on zero rated supply under 89(4)(b). They were claiming excessive refund. So on this matter, 89(4), we have filed SLP, but the challenge which we faced during the repetitions and during filing with SLP, the court was saying that since it was omitted since 8 October 2024, the court was saying that, and we have issued a SCN before that, very well before that.